Well, there you go. That's a showstopper. One great big hole. Hello everybody, welcome back. Slightly different video this week, certainly one I wasn't expecting or hoping to make. You've probably seen that last weekend I was out up at Scales Tarn with Chris and Ant. I was in the Scarp Tarptent one. Chris was in his Black Label Solo and Ant was in his OX Bobcat. The plan was, to be honest, the weather forecast was somewhat, let's say, tasty. We knew that. We genuinely believed we had the gear to cope. We had a plan in place. The original plan was to camp at the top of Robinson, but as the forecast kind of deteriorated during the course of the week, we revised that plan. Robinson's quite a big flat grassy plateau. We decided that clearly wasn't sensible. We wanted to find somewhere with a bit more shelter. The wind was coming in from the west, so we wanted to be on the eastern side, getting ourselves a bit more shelter. We decided upon Scales Tarn, somewhere I've camped numerous times before. Quite a relatively easy, short, flat walk in. I was in the van obviously. The van was a couple of miles walk away, so if the absolute worst was to happen, and believe me, it wasn't the intention to trash any of our gear, but if the worst was to happen and for whatever reason the gear wasn't up to the job, we were nice and safe. We had a backup plan. We knew exactly where we were going. Everybody knew where we were, and as risks go, genuinely believed it was somewhat minimal. So anyway, we head off up to Scales Tarn. Genuinely don't believe as well. I'll tell you what, I'll not mention the conditions. I'll let you watch the video, and what I will do is I'll let you watch it as it is. Very short and sweet. All I've done, I've trashed most of the footage that I took. I left a bit of a preamble in just so you can see what the conditions are like on the way up. You've got the tent pitch in. I've tried to leave in as much as I possibly can to show you sort of where potentially I've got it wrong. And then I'll come back and then I'll sort of run through the tent pitching, sort of the views of the tent again, and show you where I believe possibly I may have got it wrong. I would also like to say at this point in time that obviously at the time of the camp, I genuinely believed, as did everybody else, Chris and Ant believed that I'd pitched the tent correctly. It wasn't until Ant's video had come out, he had some footage in there that you could quite clearly see that there was a couple of pitching errors. But again, I'll leave you to watch and I'll come back and I'll point those out. But like I say, at the time, we genuinely believed that the tent was pitched as it should have been. And obviously it's only with subsequent events that it transpires that might not have been the case. So anyway, what I'll do, I'll stop talking, I'll run the video now, and then I'll come back once it's played out and then sort of talk you through sort of bits and pieces and point out certain elements that have obviously been brought to my attention after the event. So I'll leave you to it. That's the first bit of the climb done.
nothing dramatic. Glad they started coming in though. First spots of a bit of a hill there, but like I say, no dramas at the minute. Yeah, I think the worst is to come. Forecast, I think, picks up. I think from dusk time, 4 or 5 o'clock onwards, I think wind speeds ramp up rapidly and then die down by morning. Wind's picking up there now, and intermittent snow showers. So fingers crossed, we might end up with a bit of a blizzardy, snowy conditions as well. We're going to camp just around there somewhere, that top corner. Well, there you go. That's a showstopper. One great big hole. Unbelievable. That was one mighty gust. But even so, that's game over. I've got a great big roll, fly sheets, so a great big gash. Oh, I'm quite sure to close that. Too tight, tension. But good. Even so, anyway, game over. Get this down. We'll get back to the van. Mental. Come on, let's pack up. Let's pack up. Get out of here. Right, that's me packing up. Well, that's the first. You live and learn. You live and learn. Should have come into Liburg. But get in touch with Tarptent, see what they have to say. Like I said, the rest of the tent's fine. It's just a great big whopping gash. New fly sheet, new tent. But not good. Not good.
So there you go. That's the video. That's exactly what happened. I haven't haven't changed anything. I haven't doctored any of the editing. The audio's as it is. I've tried to be absolutely upfront and show you exactly as it was. So now, like I said at the beginning, at the time, I genuinely believed that, well, we all genuinely believed that the tent had been pitched as per it should, as per the instructions. Subsequent comments on social media, comments on Ant's video, have obviously highlighted that may not be the case. So what I'm going to do now, I'll find relevant spots on the video, and I'll try and point out to you kind of where we went wrong. So, okay, so in this particular shot, you can see, hang on, let's make it full screen. The pitch lock Velcro spots. So what you've got here are Velcro loops, essentially, that should tie around the poles. So it's basically a single pole design tent. Most of the time, well, to be honest, this is the very first time that I've ever used the crossover poles. So normally I'll just use a single pole and just guy hours normally, nothing exciting. But in this particular occasion, because of the forecast, I've chosen to use the crossover poles. So the design of these is, like I say, 2 crossover poles. This is the 2022 revised edition. So on mine, I've got a Dyneema loop that sits on top of the pole sleeve. So the 2 poles cross over through that point there, right in the middle there. Cross over and tie onto the Velcro loops at each corner. You can see on this shot here that these 2 are tied on at that end, but then quite clearly at this side they're not. Quite why I've missed those, I'm not really sure. I'm guessing it was more to do with, you know, the conditions, rushing, trying to get into the tent, something like that. But for whatever reason, and most clearly, I haven't put those on. I can only say again, genuine at the time, I thought that I had. So quite clearly, that's a shot pitched as it was. I've also put on time codes as well, just to sort of give you an indication as to how long this has all taken. So this point, we're at 12:45, so we're at 1:45. 1:45, the tent is just up. And then as we move through this shot, again, you can see far more clearly now, at that point, the gear up isn't on. What you can see here as well is I'm using the central additional guy line. I've attached that straight to the floor. I know I've had loads and loads of comments online that is supposed to be used with a trekking pole. That's how it's shown on the website. In all my communications with Henry Shires at Tarptent, he has not once yet pointed out that should be used exclusively with a trekking pole. I know plenty of people online are making that point. All I can say is I believe that to be an additional guy out point. Henry at Tarptent hasn't sort of said anything any different. Now, if I'm wrong, absolutely, I'll take it on the chin. I'm wrong. But you can quite clearly see there, I've used that central guy out point and obviously haven't tied the poles via the Velcro loops. Then we move on. What you can see here is the wind, how the wind is affecting the tent, and I don't know, make of that as you will, So by this point now, we're at 1:15. The tent's been up for half an hour, bang on half an hour. At this point, 1:20, bang, there you go. That's now destroyed the tent, more, destroyed the fly sheet. Now, again, looking at that shot, if I take it back a bit, and looking at the fly sheet sort of at home, it looks to me that the fly's failed, not by the pole, it's failed more by that central guy line there. It looks to me like it's almost ripped diagonally from that centerpiece down and across to the crossover pole attachment point. But that's my assumption. What do I know? What do I know? And yeah, there we go. That's the end result. One big gaping hole. Okay, so that's that. And then at this point, this is my reaction. Now what I'm saying here, unfortunately my microphone's playing up. Now what I've just said there, pause that, what I've just said there is I suspect that I might have tied that guy line too tight. So my initial reaction is, I think as I've come into the tent, I pulled that guy line too tight. Now, you know, that's my initial thought. I also believe that, rightly or wrongly, as this has happened in literally a 30-minute window, I've not even started unpacking my rucksack at this point. What I normally tend to do in any of the camps, I will do a tent check, wander around, you know, infrequently. I will wander around and check my guy lines. Like I said, I'm assuming that at some point that I would have, in checking my guy lines, would have noticed that I hadn't put those two tent loops through at the back of the tent. I have at the front. Why I have at the back, I have no explanation for it. I have absolutely no idea. Quite clearly, I'm an idiot. I don't know. I can only hope or assume that if the day had progressed for slightly longer than half an hour, on checking my guy lines, I would have noticed and I would have attached the loops. But events kind of overtook me. Time quite clearly wasn't on my side, and literally I got in the tent once. I was literally about to start unpacking the bag, and that was it. Game over. There you go. So that's it. Game over. Tent over. And then we go through, and then my final shot, just to rub salt in. There's 3 lads camped, not what are they, 200 yards away from us, all in OEX tents. So I think there was one guy there with an OX Bobcat, the same as Ants. I think there was a Fox 1 and a Fox 2. But you know, their tents were all right. Unfortunately, mine wasn't. Like I say, I think in hindsight it would look like my non-attaching of those, not focus, one of those, or let's say a major contributing factor. I don't know whether it's the only factor, but it's the use of that central guy line, not using the pitch locks, certainly has contributed towards that tent's failure. It is somewhat unfair to try and to blame the tent. Talking of which, I I have, obviously my initial reaction was to assume that it was the tent was at fault. I've contacted Henry Shires at Tarptent. Let's say there was a couple of terse exchange of emails, the first one of which I kind of took somewhat exception to, which then prompted me to maybe a bit hasty on the old social media. Obviously now, in light of subsequent events, you know, that would look a bit hasty. Henry kindly initially agreed to repair the tent free of charge. In light of what I've seen, putting the video together, I've contacted him again, and that doesn't sit right with me at all. It doesn't sound right that, in the light of what we've seen, that I'm expecting the manufacturer to repair a tent free of charge for something that is quite possibly my own fault. So I've contacted Henry again today and requested that if he gives me a price for a replacement fly sheet, I will more than happily pay for the replacement. Also, there's going to be a live stream next Tuesday with myself, Chris and Ant over on my channel to discuss the whole trip in the round. I'm hoping that Henry is going to appear on that live stream, and we can put all the various questions people may have about the use of the Scarp 1. I know I've certainly got issues surrounding the use of that central guy line. You know, I would also, you know, just like to ask one or two questions about the use of it and my possible mistakes. So Henry, I'm hoping, he said that he will come on the live stream next week. So if you'd like to watch that, ask more questions, ask Henry. We'll be there. I'm not sure of the time yet, but I'll post something. I'll let you know. So there you go. That's it. I can only say it as it is. You know, I can only apologise for maybe jumping the gun, posting something too quickly. I can only say the initial response that I've received from Tarptent kind of riled me slightly. We kind of got past that, worked it through, and you know, I'm now, like I say, I've emailed Henry today. I'm now just waiting a response. I'm more than happy to pay for a replacement fly sheet. So there you go. One potential muppet. But anyway, thank you all for watching. I'd like to say I hope you enjoyed it, but I hope you've got something from that. Onwards and upwards, and I'll see you next week. I think I'm back out with Phil, and I'll be in Hilleberg, so because that's the only tent I've got left. So again, thank you for watching. I'll see you next time.